This is my Ring of Honor, the Big Bang Internet pay-per-view review, and I gotta say this was a very good pay-per-view outing from Ring of Honor, and pretty much the audio problems and everything they had problems with the Final Battle pay-per-view that they had aired in December on GoFightLive.com. They pretty much fixed all those problems. The audio, I would say, still needs a little fixing, a little bit. I would say audio-wise, I would probably give the pay-per-view with audio-wise about 7 out of 10, and the video, I would say you could give that probably about a 9.5 out of 10. The video was no problem at Final Battle, so didn't have any. You knew that you would not have any problems with that. But going into this, it's going to be kind of a lot of people were wondering how the audio quality was going to be, which they did fix that a lot. They fixed the audio, made it more crisp, made it more clear. But they need to make sure when they do the next one to crank up the commentary mics just a little more, because during a little portion of the first half of the show, not too often, but there were some portions within the first half of the show where the audio commentary mics were kind of low, and the audio was a little low for that, and it should have been raised up a whole lot higher than what it was. But they pretty much fixed those problems by the second half of the show. So since they pretty much fixed it by the second half of the show, it seems like I'm thinking that the next time they do one of these internet pay-per-views on Go Fight Live, when Ring of Honor does one, they'll pretty much have it down pat and pretty much have it perfectly, fixed right then, where the audio will be perfect the whole show, and the video's been no problem ever since even the Final Battle show. That one was no video problem, just audio problems, and like I said, they fixed all the audio problems and tweaked them out on this pay-per-view. So that was the good thing. Now, the only problem that I had with this pay-per-view was what got chose to main event the pay-per-view, which really wasn't Ring of Honor's fault that it had to main event the pay-per-view. Apparently, one of the competitors in the Lucha Tag match, which I think it was Super Parka, I think he was late coming to the arena, and that's the reason why they had to have the Lucha Tag match main event the pay-per-view, which was Blue Demon Jr. and Magno teaming up to take on Mysterioso and Super Parka, which I would say, if this match would have gone on early, if this would have been the thing leading into intermission in the first half, the match probably would have went off a whole lot better. But after, two great matches you had, the ROH Tag Team title match with the Kings of Wrestling and the Briscoes, and the Triple Threat match with Aries, Strong, and Tyler Black, after those two great matches right there, it was a huge step down. And I would say it hurt the pay-per-view a little bit having that main event, but I'm not going to say it killed the pay-per-view. It didn't go that far. But I would say for that match, and if that match didn't take place and it would have ended with the world title match, probably would have gave this pay-per-view about an 8.5. And with the main event, I would say, since that was kind of a huge step down from the previous two matches before that, the ROH World Tag Team title match and the world title match, I would say I'd give this pay-per-view a 8 out of 10. It's still a solid 8 out of 10. Good pay-per-view from Ring of Honor, but the main event did kind of hurt it, having the Lucha match main event. Like I said, it probably would have came off a little better and not as bad as it did during the main event. If it wasn't the main event, it was just say the main event of the first half of the show leading into intermission. Now, the first match of the pay-per-view, which this is probably one of the other problems I had with this, which was they had two local guys from North Carolina be the opening of the pay-per-view, which I understand, you're in a new market, you want to have, some local guys shine, have them showcase on the pay-per-view, which makes sense, but I think it would have been best to have this. I think it would have been better suited to have this as the second match instead of the opener of the pay-per-view, since I think the second match would have been better to have that as the opener than what the two local guys getting showcased, which was Zach Salvation versus Phil Shatton, which really was not much of a match at all. Nothing to talk about. Phil Shatton picks up the victory, 1-star match. Typical Mid-Atlantic type wrestlers. Since me being from Virginia, there's not that many good, guys that wrestle in Virginia or the North Carolina or the Mid-Atlantic region as far as good wrestlers. You either, have, some terrible, mass luchador wrestlers, or you either have, just guys like this that aren't good at all, really, in the ring at all. And I know I'm downing on them a lot, but I think they would have probably got, a little better suited if this was the second match. But the crowd was into it, but other than, the North Carolina crowd, I think those are the only people that even cared about this match, and the only reason why they cared about this match was they were cheering for, two local, hometown heroes or, people from their state, getting showcased on a Ring of Honor show. 1-star match, like I said, nothing special. And the next matchup was Kenny King versus Davey Richards. Like I said, this match should have been the match to open up the pay-per-view. Was a very good match. A lot of good back-and-forth action with Kenny King and Davey Richards. A lot of good stuff from Davey Richards and Kenny King in this match. It was a very good overall match. Really enjoyed it. I think everyone going into this match knew this was going to be a very good match. And not Kenny King, but Davey Richards picks up the victory after Kenny King taps out from the Texas Cloverleaf in this match in a 3.5-star match. Then after this match, a huge mark-out moment for probably every Ring of Honor fan, or maybe even some non-Ring of Honor fans that maybe have been viewing this pay-per-view, was after the match, Davey Richards on the mic saying, he's the best in the world. He's going to be, the future Ring of Honor World Champion, the next Ring of Honor Champion in line to be the next Ring of Honor Champion. And then you hear Marilyn Manson's Beautiful People play. Then you saw Christopher Daniels come out there. And Christopher Daniels comes out there and pretty much throws out an open challenge to Davey Richards. So you'll be seeing a Christopher Daniels versus Davey Richards matchup at probably the Ring of Honor show coming up in May in New York City. That's probably where that match will take place, which should be a great match. And great to see Christopher Daniels back in Ring of Honor. Now, at this point, it's unknown what his contractual status with TNA is. Is he gone from TNA, or is TNA just allowing him to work these dates? Which I'm probably going to go for the latter. I'm probably saying that TNA is allowing him to work these dates, just like they're allowing the Motor City Machine Guns to work these dates. Like, probably the one main reason, like when I was talking to one of my friends, about Christopher Daniels returning to Ring of Honor, probably came up with the best reason why they're probably having Christopher Daniels and the Motor City Machine Guns work these dates and allowed to work Ring of Honor even though they're within TNA, is to probably pay back Ring of Honor for, the whole Ric Flair fiasco. And then since Ric Flair's within TNA, that's probably a little thing to say, this is the way we're paying you back, Ring of Honor. You have Christopher Daniels work a couple dates, work maybe a number of shows with you in the Motor City Machine Guns as well, kind of just to pay them back after the whole Ric Flair fiasco that happened there last year. And the next matchup was Erick Stevens versus Necro Butcher in a Butcher's Rules match. Now, this match was a little bit disappointing. It was nothing, really spectacular. Not that I was expecting anything spectacular within this match, but I was expecting it to be a little more brutal and a little more, gimmickry than what it was, as far as, having, a couple table spots, maybe some blood within the match and stuff like that. And especially, considering, I'll look at it this way, where probably with some of these, internet pay-per-views, on Go Fight Live that Ring of Honor has, people coming in that never seen Ring of Honor before probably, have heard the name Ring of Honor before, say, let me give this promotion a chance, and they probably have heard, Necro Butcher, a lot of people on the internet say, this guy's, probably the Mick Foley or Cactus Jack of this generation, the most crazy hardcore guy now, and then probably if they tune in to see this match, they're like, really, this is the best this guy can do. That's probably the way they would probably view it. It was a pretty weak match considering it was a Butcher's Rules match, no disqualification match. Some good stuff in it to start it, but, really weak finish, especially since it was a gimmick match. It should have been a whole lot more brutal than what it was. Necro Butcher picks up the victory, winning with a Connor roll to Erick Stevens in a 1 3/4-star match. Then after the match, the Embassy come in there and they beat down Necro Butcher, furthering the Embassy versus Necro Butcher feud that's still continuing. Then the next matchup was Rhett Titus versus Cassandro El Exotico, which people that aren't familiar with Cassandro before seeing this pay-per-view, the way his character is, he's pretty much like a Adrian Adonis, cross-dressing gimmick, Mexican cross-dressing luchador, and very flamboyant, over-the-top character. And even though the character's very over-the-top, I gotta say, he's actually a pretty good overall wrestler. I've seen him maybe 1 or 2 times before this, and really haven't been impressed with him before, but I was actually kind of impressed with him in this match. Started off with some good comedy between him and Rhett Titus, which this match was pretty much one of those matches that was a good example of what you can do as far as a mixing in comedy, but at the same time having a good wrestling match as well. It's pretty much what this was, a good mix of comedy, but at the same time good wrestling. And Cassandro did a number of good things in this match, good back and forth action between these two, and I actually got to give him even more credit than learning later in the evening that he actually suffered a broken leg in this match after doing a flip dive outside the ring to Rhett Titus within this match, which really during it I thought, maybe he was just working his leg a lot and he didn't, completely injure himself or break his leg, and he really, just made it look like he was selling it, and he actually gutted it out, finished the match, and picks up the victory after a roll-up, beating Rhett Titus in a 2.5-star match. Pretty entertaining match, I would say. It was a good, comedy entertainment match mixed with actually some good wrestling at the same time as well. And then I got to give him even more credit, Cassandro, going out there to actually, gutting the match out and actually finishing the match with a broken leg that we found out later on in the evening. So I got to give him a lot of credit there. Then the next matchup was Kevin Steen and Steve Corino versus El Generico and Colt Cabana. In this match, at the beginning of it, you saw Colt Cabana pretty much be the main person within the match, going back and forth with Steve Corino and Kevin Steen, tagging in and out to Colt Cabana. Then you saw Colt Cabana, and then you saw at one point in the match, you saw Kevin Steen hit a big boot to El Generico. And then the only other portion in the match, other than close to the end of the match, you saw them, in the middle of the match, have a stare down El Generico and Kevin Steen. Then from behind, Corino attacked El Generico. Kevin Steen was stomping him down. And then towards the end of the match, you saw El Generico and Kevin Steen outside the ring battling with each other. El Generico took a powerbomb to the ring apron from Kevin Steen. And then the end of the match came when Colt Cabana had Steve Corino in the Billy Goat's Curse submission hold. And then from behind, you saw Kevin Steen with the steel chair hit Colt Cabana. So the match ends in disqualification. Then after the match, pretty much furthering the build-up with the whole Colt Cabana, El Generico versus Kevin Steen and Steve Corino, which the main focus is obviously Kevin Steen and El Generico. You saw Colt Cabana bleeding from the head after the match after a chair shot. Then after that, you pretty much saw El Generico just flip out, and pretty much, after that, he was pretty much destroying everyone. That's pretty much the way it ended, and Kevin Steen and Steve Corino were all up on the ramp. Then it got announced later on that on the April 24th show at the Ring of Honor show in Chicago, Illinois, it's going to be a Chicago Street fight with Colt Cabana and El Generico versus Kevin Steen and Steve Corino, which should be very good, because going into this, other than, the further build-up with Kevin Steen and El Generico, I wasn't really looking forward to this match, but after what they did in this match and building up to the street fight, I really want to see that street fight a lot, and definitely can't wait to see the Kevin Steen and El Generico singles match when they finally book that, which they'll probably book it at the Supercard of Honor show, which will probably be the New York show in May. Or maybe they'll try to drag it out even further to maybe to July or August, whenever Death Before Dishonor happens, and have a Fight Without Honor match between those two, because that's probably the way you'll see their feud end, with the Fight Without Honor, and maybe do the same type of finish where, after a brutal feud, they end up, hugging with each other at the end of it, and, saying that everything's over with the two as far as the whole bitter feud. That's probably the way they'll end it with each other. And the match with that tag match, I'll probably give about a 2 1/4 star, 2 1/4 stars. Then the next matchup was before the next matchup it was intermission. So before the next matchup, it was intermission. Which during intermission you saw Jim Cornette in the ring, you saw Bobby Eaton in the ring, and you saw Tommy Young in the ring and Kevin Kelly in the ring. Which I forgot to mention earlier that on commentary during this pay-per-view, it was Kevin Kelly and Dave Prazak, which I got to say, they did a very good job working with each other, a very good duo commentary team, which I think those two should, work together more on commentary. That would probably be a great permanent Ring of Honor commentary team, which they probably will do, or maybe just have him do the ROH on HD Net shows and the internet pay-per-views, and still have Lenny Leonard do the DVDs, or maybe they'll have Kevin Kelly and Dave Prazak do the DVDs as well, because I think Kevin Kelly and Dave Prazak work very good as a commentary team on the night. Then the next matchup was, in my opinion, the match of the night. This was the Kings of Wrestling, Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli versus the Briscoe brothers for the ROH World Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, and this was a great tag team match. It's one of those matches you just have to see for yourself. That's how good this match was. A lot of good back and forth action. The example of what tag team wrestling should be. A lot of good near falls, a lot of good false finishes, and just it was booked so well. During the last couple minutes of the match, you did not know which way it would go. You didn't know if it was going to be the Kings of Wrestling winning, the Briscoes winning. It was like, this match has to go to the Briscoes. Oh, it has to go to the Kings of Wrestling. It was just going back and forth like that. Very good. A good number of false finishes, not overdone, and just very good tag team wrestling. Great match. Really enjoyed it. And the Kings of Wrestling pick up the victory after Chris Hero uses a loaded elbow pad to Jay Briscoe, with Claudio Castagnoli picking up the victory for the Kings of Wrestling by pinning Jay Briscoe after that in a 4.5-star match. Very good tag match, in my opinion, the match of the night. And then the next matchup was the ROH World Heavyweight Championship match, the triple threat match with Roderick Strong versus Austin Aries versus Tyler Black. And these triple threat rules in this match were that elimination rules, which was one of the things I think that, as good as this world title match was, and it definitely was a great world title match, I think they would have probably pulled off better if it was not elimination-based rules. I think it would have been better if it was just a single pinfall. I think that would have worked better in the match here, but you saw a lot of good stuff. At the first elimination came when, after a number of super kicks from Tyler Black to Roderick Strong, then a brain buster from Austin Aries eliminates Roderick Strong, so Roderick Strong yet again comes up short in his quest for becoming the ROH World Heavyweight Champion. And then the final two were obviously Tyler Black versus Austin Aries. Saw a lot of good back and forth action between those two. The whole match was very good. You saw the first couple minutes kind of building up slow, then it kind of started building up pretty good throughout the whole entire match. Just a great world title match between those two. And, it was very predictable, obviously, who was going to walk out as Ring of Honor champion. And it was everyone knew that Tyler Black was going to be the one walking out and staying Ring of Honor champion, which is a good thing, because I didn't want Tyler Black to lose the ROH World Heavyweight Championship quite yet. I think they need to at least have him, have it till, the summer, or maybe till the end of the fall, maybe all the way to even Final Battle, till having Tyler Black and Davey Richards against each other at Final Battle. Great world title match, 4 and 1/4 stars. And then the main event, which was the one thing that kind of dragged it down a little bit, which was the Lucha Libre tag match, which was, like I said earlier, it was Blue Demon Jr. and Magno teaming up to take on Mysterioso and Super Park. And this was just bad to have this as the main event, but like I said, I guess one of the members and participants in the match showed up late to the arena, which I think it was Super Park that showed up late, so they had to push this back and have this be the main event. It was obviously advertised, so you had to have the match take place, especially, if the people actually made it to the show and you actually could do it on the pay-per-view, which was one of the things. This match, if this wasn't the main event, I think it would have came off better. Magno did some good stuff in it. He was really the saving grace of the match, making it at least a watchable match. I'm probably being a little too generous to it, but I give it 2.5 stars because it was at least some good stuff in it. It wasn't, a terrible thing, but after the, World Tag Team title match, after the World Heavyweight Championship match, three-way match, you saw a huge step down after those two matches, having this as the main event. But like I said, it was one of the matches that took place. And not only that, the crowd was into the match, even though I was kind of, after the two matches previous, I was like, who cares really about seeing this match? I paid attention to it, but it was like one of those things that, who really cares about this match? But the crowd was really into it, so you must have had a lot of Lucha Libre fans or a lot of Hispanic fans there in attendance for this show to see the Luchadors in action. And I give it about 2.5 stars as far as the match goes, like I said. And overall, I give the show an 8 out of 10 because you had the World Heavyweight title match, which was a great match. You had the Tag Team title match, which was great. And you had the Davey Richards versus Kenny King match, which was very good as well. And Christopher Daniels making his surprise Ring of Honor return that no one saw coming. And even the Cassandro Rhett Titus match was at least entertaining. And there was at least a few other things on the pay-per-view with the continuation of the Kevin Steen and El Generico feud with Colt Cabana and Steve Corino being involved as well, and the further build-up to that. That was good to see. And really, other than, probably the Erick Stevens versus Necro Butcher match, really everything else on the pay-per-view was pretty much watchable, I would say. And you had two great matches and a very good match with Davey Richards and Kenny King on this pay-per-view. And like I said, great to see Christopher Daniels back in Ring of Honor as well. So you had a number of good things on this pay-per-view. So this is my Ring of Honor, the Big Bang Internet pay-per-view review. And like I say, this was a very good pay-per-view outing from Ring of Honor. And pretty much the audio problems and everything they had problems with the Final Battle pay-per-view that they had aired in December on GoFightLive.com. They pretty much fixed all those problems. The audio, I would say, still needs a little fixing, a little bit. I would say audio-wise, I would probably give the pay-per-view with audio-wise about 7 out of 10. And the video, I would say you could give that probably about a 9.5 out of 10. The video was no problem at Final Battle, so didn't have any. You knew that you would not have any problems with that. But going into this, it's going to be kind of a lot of people were wondering how the audio quality was going to be, which they did fix that a lot. They fixed the audio, made it more crisp, made it more clear. But they need to make sure when they do the next one to crank up the commentary mics just a little more, because during a little portion of the first half of the show, not too often, but there were some portions within the first half of the show where the audio commentary mics were kind of low, and the audio was a little low for that, and it should have been raised up a whole lot higher than what it was. But they pretty much fixed those problems by the second half of the show. So since they pretty much fixed it by the second half of the show, it seems like I'm thinking that the next time Super Parka, I think he was late coming to the arena, and that's the reason why they had to have the Lucha Tag Match main event, the pay-per-view, which was Blue Demon Jr. and Magno teaming up to take on Mysterioso and Super Parka, which I would say, you know, if this match would have gone on early, if this would have been the thing leading into intermission in the first half, the match probably would have went off a whole lot better. But after, you know, two great matches you had, the ROH Tag Team title match with the Kings of Wrestling and the Briscoes, and the Triple Threat match with Aries, Strong, and Tyler Black, after those two great matches right there, it was a huge step down. And I would say it hurt the pay-per-view a little bit having that main event, but I'm not going to say it killed the pay-per-view. It didn't go that far. But I would say for that match, and if that match didn't take place and it would have ended with the world title match, probably would have gave this pay-per-view about an 8.5. And with the main event, I would say, since that was kind of a huge step down from the previous two matches before that, the ROH World Tag Team title match and the world title match, I would say I'd give this pay-per-view a 8 out of 10. It's still a solid 8 out of 10. Good pay-per-view from Ring of Honor, but the main event did kind of hurt it, having the Lucha match main event. Like I said, it probably would have came off a little better and not as bad as it did during when they do one of these internet pay-per-views on Go Fight Live. When Ring of Honor does one, they'll pretty much have it down pat and pretty much have it perfectly, fixed right then, where the audio will be perfect the whole show, and the video's been no problem ever since even the Final Battle show. That one was no video problem, just audio problems. And like I said, they fixed all the audio problems and tweaked them out on this pay-per-view. So that was the good thing. Now, the only problem that I had with this pay-per-view was what got chose to main event the pay-per-view, which really wasn't Ring of Honor's fault that it had to main event the pay-per-view. Apparently, one of the competitors in the Lucha Tag match, which I think it was